with a graceful presides group. So who's going to come up first? Say your name and start counting.
Hi, I'm Sarah Tong from Journey Along the Mekong. I was alone when the electricity went out. Someone put a candle on my table and another candle across the big deck. Beyond was the Mekong. Do you know what you're doing tomorrow? I looked up. I'm leaving tomorrow. 2 days ago, Lucas had left for Vientiane, Bangkok, Frankfurt, and home to his orderly life in Germany. He said he'd get a job in Southeast Asia, but after 9 months, nothing. Yesterday, when I moved into this guest house, I was the only guest. Then came the banging in the next room. In the dim light, now stood a young man with unusual features. He held a copy of The English Patient. Where do you come from? He asked. I was in Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos the past few weeks. Tomorrow, I fly back to Vietnam. Before all that, I was in Indonesia. I'm from Holland, he said, but I have family in Indonesia, my mother's. He had angular eyes, but high cheekbones, a Roman nose, and sandy brown hair. How about you, he asked. You look like you could be from this region, but you're obviously not. Like him, I was between two worlds. I'd grown up in LA with parents who fled China. More recently, I'd lived and worked in Shanghai, Beijing, Singapore, and Hong Kong. Earlier that summer, I'd organized an arts festival in Bali. My fellow traveler had started in the book trade, then moved into Asian art, which I've been exploring. Well, I was on my way out, he said. See you tomorrow. I went to my room. How much longer on my own? I scribbled a note, then slipped it under my neighbor's door. Then I lay in bed. Finally, a knock. Yeah, I think we could travel together, he said. By the way, my name is Alexander. Thank you.
Alice Wong Yilu. Immigrants and refugees carry in them invisible trade tracks running back to their homelands, rattling with the weight of the trauma that was piled on them as they fled extreme strife and abuses of power. Train cars that hold sadness and loss, but also the inner strength that pushed them to forge plans into the unknown, carried along by memories of the people that helped them along the way. The history of their people, their food, the depth and the beauty of their culture is still strong in them wherever they wander to. A shining light in the darkness of the trauma are small moments often looked back on with nostalgia. The beauty of their childhood landscape, the love in their food that was shared, paired with a longing for a home that no longer exists as they knew it. For some of the worst acts of humanity, people have managed to make lives by tapping into the best parts of humanity and allowing them to survive and build anew. It was very dark that evening, and there wasn't much of a moon as they huddled close together, flightless birds preparing for their migratory path, walking and stumbling and walking again for what felt like an endless amount of time, minds numbing yet calm, constantly vigilant on keeping the person in front of them close enough to not lose them. Survival dependent on not breaking the chain that led to the leader. A leader that they had just met hours earlier, now instantly transformed into a fixation point, flooded with excessive, desperate trust. Rice field after rice field they walked, moving through the raised paths that ran between them. Glints of moonlight flickered across the shallow water, the rustling of the grass like frogs on the rice, and then the random bug noises echoed behind their footsteps. The entire night passed as they walked, those 30 people. The walk was not difficult for my father. He was a healthy teenage boy. It was just long. Eventually, they reached a fence that crackled with electricity, marking the border between Hong Kong and China. Their now fearlessly entrusted leader led them directly to a spot that had a hole dug underneath it. Don't touch the fence. It's electrocuted, he explained. Don't reach up to grab it. Push your body to the ground to get underneath it.
Hi, my name is Catherine Hamilton. In this dream, you stand in front of me when Rage pays a visit. We've seen each other before, Rage and I, brushed shoulders in passing, eyed each other from across rooms. In this dream, Rage takes my hand and electrifies my body, bristles through my veins, surges to the tips of my fingers until I can feel my pulse in my eyes and vision fill my head. They are memories, some my own, observed through wide eyes, and some told us stories, whispered to me in sweltering shades of red or forlorn blues. As the memories fill my mind, I become something other than myself. No longer the painfully shy girl who hid behind her mother's legs, who could be hushed with a single word, who thought herself a coward. I'm not the one who obeyed. I'm not a girl at all. No, I am his bruise, her anger, my brother and my sister, both boy and girl, or something in between, some hybrid being of pictures and people. I am many ages. I am 5, 8, 17, and 44, because my mother comes too, with her blonde hair and mistrust of men. Their pain is mine, these body dwellers, and I am theirs, although I am still the one who never got into trouble, the one who was spared. They spread through my limbs and psyche as my hand reaches out toward you, and we recall your short temper, your desire, the sound of a child's wail, of a door locking, of leather against denim as the belt slides off your waist, and though I'd never lift a finger, we slap you across the face with every ounce of all our beings. In this dull thud of flesh and bone, the weight of our collective years slides off my back, and I think this is called satisfaction. When I awake, I remember that some people never have to pay the debts they owe. Disappointment mocks me, as if a slap could produce mischild support, could undo psychic wounds. I know the truth, that some people steal, cheat, and make out like bandits, and some people really do get away with it all until their daughters become writers.
My name is Aiden Hobbs. This is from my longer memoir. Jax was the let's move to South Korea instigator. We had met through FedEx in the tri-state area. It was said that you hadn't truly lived in Memphis, Little Rock, or North Mississippi if you hadn't worked for FedEx at least once. I was the librarian turned employee training manager. Jax, 6 years my junior, was a newly hired part-time package handler and an upcoming graduate from the struggling HBCU. Short, stocky, with a quick wit and long locks, I was drawn to her easygoing disposition. As a then self-identifying cis lesbian, I was unclear about her sexuality and hesitant to jeopardize work protocols. Want to go to Red Lobster next week? She asked, deftly building the next wall of boxes, hopping over to the neighboring truck along the long dock of squeaky roller conveyors and pungent odors of bodies at work. What? Why? Flustering to find my footing. We had hung out together with our group of friends at the classic Waffle House after the graveyard shift and IHOP on paydays. I like you, but you have been oblivious. The thud of boxes slamming down the conveyor belt mimicking my heartbeat. I guess, so is this an official date? If I had learned anything about myself, I wanted to know the potential ground rules ahead of time. Yes, but know that I have never dated a woman before, even though I've known I'm a lesbian. I dammed up the thoughts that were bubbling up, forced a smile, and a frantic, oh, no big deal. I'm okay with that. Find me after you're done and we can figure out the details. I made a beeline for my classroom and retreated to the standard gray makeshift cubicle tucked in the back of the echoey room. What the hell am I supposed to do now? Terror creeping in like an old friend come to chill out with anxiety and confusion.
Hi, my name is Yami Pancho. Sticky summer nights, we would walk down 3rd Street Colony to Hubbyville Road to buy a cassata ice cream cake from Maroon Ice Cream, tasted of magic. My brother and I would run down my grandparents' colony, kicking up summer dust with our flopping slippers. Don't run in chupples, some auntie would shout. It was the kind of place, the kind of time, where village parenting was welcome. Next door, Twinkle Auntie always had some finger wagging at the ready when we passed by. We were given 45 rupees exactly, which was about $1 in the late 19th, to purchase a full-size ice cream. We carried it home with hurried legs. The challenge was to make it home before it melted in the 95-degree heat without dropping it. At home, my grandmother would tuck the end of her sari polu into her petticoat waistband and slice into it with the tip of a sharp knife, using her portly weight to press down through the layers of vanilla, pistachio, and strawberry ice cream until breaking through the spongy cake layer of the top. We challenge ourselves to fit all the layers into our mouths simultaneously, our tongues like the slabs of a Cold Stone creamery, and our mouths the masterful mashers, until one of us opened our lips in a silent scream. Afterward, we curl our bodies on the wicker chairs on the veranda and pronounce we were so full that we could never eat cassata ice cream ever again, until the next magical night. Cassata ice cream tasted like Indian summer, but there could be no worries in the world that couldn't be solved. After enjoying the chilled slices together, 3 generations of us, we forgot for a moment who was angry at whom. And later at bedtime, my brother and I didn't dwell on why the grown-ups were screaming at each other downstairs after they thought we were asleep. Cassata ice cream cold plunged the sad stuff as it settled in our bellies, froze and made inert what otherwise hung heavy in our young minds. As we drifted off, the flavors lingered like lessons, whispering sweet dreams, sweet dreams.
Hi, my name is Magella, and I'm going to be reading an excerpt from my soon-to-be memoir, Malgado, which means the eldest son. The street traffic had not reached its high pitch yet. Shirtless, Papa sat on a red plastic chair on a flattened cushion that was covered in colorful leftover fabric from one of Mummy's many sewing projects. Papa's chair faced the carport, which never had a car, because I never bought him the car he wanted, because he never drove a car, because he wanted a chauffeur with a car. They were married for 58 years. Do you need anything to help you set up something? Can you stay here alone? What would you do? Has Mommy made a will? The living room door opened and my sister popped out into the portico. Mommy has given the house to Sharifa and me. Biju has got the shops. This was the house I had built. The one that Mommy and Sharifa and Papa harassed me to build. With money I did not have. Borrowed from Korea and Khan and Sunil. My paychecks going into repaying the loan for a long time after the house was inaugurated. The house that Mommy said, "It's going all to you, Kisha." Was there a will? I asked without turning my head towards my sister. We can discuss all that after the first year anniversary. It seemed like everyone except me had the right to information. What about the jewelry? I asked. The jewelry is for daughters only, my sister said, standing in the doorway. This was the jewelry I had bought. My mother bought with my money. The jewelry I had bought for my wife. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rowena Cruz, and this is from The Bride and the Whore. 20 years ago, I Googled the word Filipina. I half expected to find a list of influential figures, thought leaders, politicians, writers, and artists, women I could write about. It was the centennial year of the feminist movement in the Philippines in 2005. Yet not even Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, the country's second woman president, appeared in the search results. Instead, I discovered galleries of Filipino women who look like me, hidden within mainstream culture, yet repurposed for global commerce in a thriving digital marketplace of the 21st century. Of the first 15 links returned, 10 led to pen pal services, online dating portals, or mail order bride directories targeted at Western men seeking Filipino women. Domain names like filipinaheart.com, filipinabride.com, and filipinowives.com displayed on the screen. Taglines flash like neon signs competing for clicks. Looking to meet a Filipino bride? Lovely Filipino girls seek US men. Join Filipina kisses for free. I stared at the monitor, nausea growing, thick and suffocating. This is how America views us, as commodities, packaged, marketed, and sold to white male consumers offering a prince, a possibility, and a passport out of poverty. Above my desk, just inches from what Google spat out, a souvenir calendar commemorating the 100th anniversary of the Filipino feminist movement hung flat against the wall. A new friend I met at a forum for the Filipino American Women's Network gifted it to me soon after I moved into my apartment at Columbia University, where I began my graduate writing program.
Hi, I am Karina. And La Palma is a thin, rectangular shaped municipality wedged along a mountainside in the department of Chalatenango. And at first glance, it seems like any other scruffy mountain town high up near the border, by which I mean the border farthest towards the north, the one that divides El Salvador from Honduras. But I encourage you to look closer, a second glance, and watch the plaza. Small, its walls packed with mural, colorful geometric renditions of armadillos, and then there's the church, exquisite, brown, and historic, where leftist guerrilla rebels in a fiercely repressive government negotiated peace and failed. I kissed a stranger near that plaza. No, not a stranger, not quite a friend either, certainly not an acquaintance. He was someone who straddled both stranger and friend, because I had known him for 2 days and had spent the entire time with him, so I trusted him, even if I didn't know him. But more than trust him, I remember him. I kissed him. I pulled this body over mine and I observed for the first time how fluid a person's torso could be. The arms too, and the legs. I remember the face, flushed, slender, and robust. No, not robust. Robust is vigor, firmness. And this face looked like something else entirely. It was a face that in its youth had experienced robustness, but that time had commenced its intent to wear out. I was 3 days into my 22 years of life, and I studied this face above me, 18 years older than mine. He was a leader in the once beloved Salvadoran leftist party that had united in the 1980s with staggering capacity, the Popular Liberation Forces, the National Resistance, the Communist Party.
You guys, getting ready for your thunderous applause. I'd like the memoir group to please stand up. So we can... Thank you so much for sharing your truths with us. So I'm going to now invite up here to take this spot the short fiction group. Yes. Yeah, we are.
Rowena, keep it there so that people can bring it back to you.
Okay, I'm going to invite the first reader up, so they're going to say their name and then they're going to start reading short fiction.
Alana Noel Black, this is shadow work. By Missouri Avenue, the bus was nearly a standing room. Melanie noticed a woman boarding and a small knot of people at the stop. The three other people getting on were men, either also Black or Latino, so they yielded to her and she didn't acknowledge them. It reminded Melanie of the unthinking way her sister Nichelle moved through the world. When she had taken her to the mall that time when Melanie was 11, freshly in middle school and feeling closer to 19-year-old Nichelle in the way that she too now existed in the world of dances and dating, so they could almost connect like peers. Nichelle had bought her a sweater from Express, which Melanie realized must have eaten up a lot of her college student budget. Melanie had eagerly put it on in the mall bathroom, and while they walked, she noticed people pausing to look at Nichelle, even looking up from their food court meals before she crossed their field of vision, as though maybe she sent some kind of cloud ahead of her, the oral equivalent of the master of ceremonies. Melanie had pretended not to notice, but Nichelle truly seemed to not, taking it in like a partially cloudy, mild temperature day. May I sit here? The woman looked down at Melanie. Of course. Melanie thought that the woman would just lower down and expect her to make room. The woman was not in business wear, but she also wasn't slouchy. She wore an oversized magenta blouse that radiated against her dark skin and deeply blue skinny jeans. Her face was round, but she had still likely gotten Naomi Campbell comparisons at some point, like Nichelle. She couldn't be her. The last Melanie had heard from Nichelle was a postcard from London over a year ago, a row of rainbow-colored houses and a few quick words. Having a sister in England sounded glamorous, but her husband was controlling, and she hadn't been home or seen by Melanie or her parents in 7 years. They didn't have an address for her, and she knew that was why her parents hadn't moved, even though her mom spoke enviously of their friends' single-level townhomes in 55 or better communities, where the easier way of life they claimed to have found in North Carolina or Georgia. Yes.
Me llamo Miranda Guadalupe Triay from the Benediction. Every day mirrored the one before. Seiji woke up in the same shoddy studio apartment, his body stiff and clinging to the edge of the bed. He showered before the rest of the tenants drained the hot water, the cheapest remedy for his cramped legs and sore back. Then he dressed in an unwrinkled shirt, paired with pants he had worn twice before, 3 times, if he had to choose between clean clothes or stocked bridge. The early stillness of the streets below comforted Seiji, its hazy lights obscuring the kitchen's chipped paint and relentless gnats eager for crumbs. In the shadows, Seiji's thoughts did not drift towards failed exams or a coach's cool dismissal after another inconclusive MRI. In fact, as he descended the stairs and exited the building, met with 2 or 3 people huddled in sleep, a dog between them with starving eyes, Seiji could be grateful. At work, Seiji moved to the rhythm of the convenience store like ocean waves on a cloudless summer day, calm and subdued as the sun rose and locals streamed in to purchase ready-made salads, sturdy and unyielding as midday tourists toppled into each other to consume canned coffee and strawberry cream sandwiches. He read between customers some translated work his father would have liked. Lorenzo usually walked in after lunch, his eyes bloodshot from another overnight shift. They bantered about whatever, mostly fruit or rent, and then Lorenzo left for the apartment to sleep until midnight, to do the whole damn thing over again. The locals and tourists blurred together by late afternoon, and Seiji glanced at the clock above the glass doors, willing its hands to go faster. He needed reprieve, to run circles in the park down the street. In those moments, his mother's face surfaced, waiting for the shameful wreckage of his heart, looking as if she never left, with eyes that glistened and a frown that sunk his every defense. Is this why you stayed? Is this what your father wanted? Seiji never replied. No answer satisfied. He left. And then he ran to do it all over again. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rita Martinez Larson, and this is my sci-fi short story, A Billion Stars. Mercy didn't exist for the girl and her village, who lived just south of the vibrant lake. Earth's castaways, they were called, forgotten. Overgrown ivy swallows the streets. Thick bushes of tumbleweed roll through the abandoned buildings with jagged cracks. She always thought those buildings got in the way of all of the trees and other plants trying to grow. How long has it been now? 50 years? 100? She couldn't solve. Her village would tell her stories of what the world was like before everything happened, before tech reached its highest peak of innovation. scientists finding a new habitable planet, and artificial intelligence streamlining the process of getting humanity over there. Only the rich and powerful left Earth, bringing along only a selected few. The girl blinks down at the shiny smooth surface at her dirt-crusted feet, a blue bot they called it, another testament to Earth's creation, until they began to think of themselves. What was the word her village used again? Sentience. The girl wondered in disbelief. How on earth could this shell of a robot think for itself? She kicked the thing and gasped as the helmet sparked to life. Hello, human. I am Bluebot. How may I assist you today? The Bluebot sat up from the ground and swiveled its head in a stiff motion that made the girl take a step back. Oh no, it seems as though you are located on Earth. This territory has been depreciated. Would you like me to call reinforcements for a rescue pod to take you to Planet Lotus? Rescue? Her village always said they were castaways, that Mercy had forgotten them. The girl never understood why. Earth's bright blue skies and vibrant Viridian life around her seemed more like home than anything else. Her favorite was during nightfall when billions of stars blanketed the sky. Apparently, the very wealthy also had billions of what they used to call money. What an absurd thought. The girl thought of the stars and tried to imagine a man fitting all of that in his pocket. It seems as though you did not hear my request. Would you like to hear it again? The breeze blew a crisp of rush of wind. The scent of pine and life filled her lungs. The peak of human innovation stared right at her, waiting. She looked around at the jagged buildings and cracked asphalt of the old streets. She thought of the billions of stars in the sky, looked back at the robot, and walked away.
My name is Sherry, and I'm reading an excerpt from The Word Thief. There's a word for the disorientation that drowns me when the skies darken and throw long shadows and turn the windows reflective. I knew it a few days ago, but the word thief must have stolen it on her last visit. Fun has smear outlines of furniture, trees, and people amid scrubs waver in the glass. I can't tell if they're outside or inside projected outside. The word thief is back today. A girl with dark hair scrunchied into a ponytail and sequin jeans. She barges into my room with a tall man. It takes me a moment to recognize him as my son, Jason, because I don't remember him being gray-haired and stoop-shouldered. I sit up straight in my bed and glare at them. You didn't not. I hate that my control over the world is shrinking. Jason's eyes only meet mine for a second before darting somewhere safer. Sorry, Mom. He ambles closer but doesn't take off his jacket. The word thief is not apologetic. She goes to the window and clambers onto the worn armchair that I never use because it hurts my hips. She points at things in a small nursing home courtyard. Bravo, gazebo, pedestrian. The courtyard loses her attention once she's gone through the new words. The word thief goes to my drawers and picks up my copy of Stone Mattress. I had trudged through its first short stories last month, but the fourth went on, and I couldn't keep the beginning in my head long enough to understand the ending. Now I just watch whatever is playing on the TV in the common room. It's usually sports and sitcom, entertainment that doesn't require following a native. That's not right. Narration, narrative. What does mannerism mean? The word thief asks. I still know this. It's the way a person does something. She ponders this, stalks a new meaning into the sentence she's reading, and I know the next time she comes, I will no longer know the answer.
Hi, I'm Ganga Dharmapa, and this is from my short story collection, Sage Advice. You were 12 when she came to visit. You were not excited to have this new person in your home, this girl, your cousin, who was old, who would take your bed for a month, a year, or some other immeasurable length of time. You fought hard to get that bed in a room that was completely your own. Until recently, it stored a splintered baby crib, heavy pharmacy textbooks, and an old treadmill that served as a drying rack for towels. You were happy, so happy, not to share a room anymore with Nisha, who liked to wake you up with a punch in the stomach or a pillow over your face. So when Maya pulled up in the passenger seat of a yellow taxi full of luggage, you were very worried. You knew that you would have to call her Mayaka to show your respect, but this girl was no sister of yours. You already had a sister, and one was enough. You heard Amma call Maya troubled ones, but you also knew that Amma never gave up on family. Mayaka was her brother's daughter. She had just graduated with a degree in aviation something and was waiting to hear back about
master's programs before her visa expired. You did not understand why she needed to stay, and you hoped that she would work at Pizza Hut for the summer, like the rest of your cousins, and be on her way before your school started again. You thought it was strange that she would want to work with planes. The first thing that you saw her was her black leather boots that zipped all the way up her totally hairless thighs. She exited the rusty taxi backward, as if she were coming out of a clown car. You watched from the slit in the living room blinds, and you thought how much like a deer she moved as her tiny blue shorts and the rest of her emerged, finally, one delicate limb at a time.
Everyone. My name is Mauricio Ernesto Ramirez. This is or the title of this is Graciela and the Hand Grenade. Graciela finished assembling the last pachita of the day, her belly rounded as her skin slowly stretched beneath her blouse. The full moon perched among the stars. She was alone in the earthen cellar the men had excavated beneath their home 3 months earlier, a place permeated by the smell of rust and damp soil. Rifles leaned against the wall. Empty baby bottles and jars of raw chemical covered the shelves. Desperate parts of guerrilla warfare waited for their final assembly. A single incandescent light bulb dangled above, providing dim, sometimes flickering illumination. Graciela smiled at the work of her hands, her fingers coated in gun oils and glue. Inside her body, something else was being assembled. A fetus forming without the knowledge of death squads. A small human living in the soil of her womb. The unborn child did not yet know this world, only the tremor of her voice when she sang songs of revolution to herself. She placed the finished pachita in her lap like a toy. The tape screeched as she pulled it, sealing the plastic tight. The pachita was the size of a baby bottle because it was a baby bottle. The revolutionaries honored it for what it could do, a small bottle with the power to crack open silence and leave behind a rather large blast radius. The baby bottle tip was replaced with a fuse. Graciela never saw one go off. She only complied with her part of the mission, making them. How ironic was it to make weapons of death while creating life? She touched her belly, wondering if the baby could feel her revolutionary label and understand that here, love and destruction often share the same. Thank you.
Okay, that is it for short fiction. And next up, we have screenwriting.
No. It's so fun. I love it.
Yeah.
So let's go, Diane, Jessica. Because we didn't rehearse whoever's turn it is, you grab into one mic and then everybody else on each other. And just remember to speak and then go back so you know.
Chandra, do you need the stand?
No, I don't think we're facing one. So Diane
Okay, and then on the right, come to the left, come closer, it's in the middle. Perfect. Okay, good.
Hello, I'm Diane. Exterior here by Ferry Building, day. A wash of waves crashes against the salt-mottled legs of the pier deserted. Above, gulls wheel and the sky is gray and overcast. The water is dull and lethargic as it swills to static just beyond the feet of a middle-aged woman, dirty blonde, armless, sitting at the edge just behind the railing. Her torso is bandaged all around, old blood showing rusty at the seams. She's crying silently, weeping with her head dropped into her knees, in the same position as though holding herself, minus the missing arms. Struggling to her feet, she turns and walks down the pier towards the ferry building. Over the bandages, she's wearing a red one-piece swimsuit. In white letters across the back, Bethany Hamilton. Without arms to hold the straps of the suit up, it starts to slide, puddling into her lower back. A girl's voice, tenuous, speaks up off screen.
Do you believe in God?
Exterior Gott's roadside ferry building day. At a table at the fringe of the outside patio, Alice, mid-20s, dressed plainly and shivering slightly from the wind, looks directly at Bethany, now paused on the sidewalk. The sound of the gulls continues to reverberate. Bethany stares back with red eyes, the patio railing between them. The throng of ordinary people milling about appear not to see her at all. Across from Alice, Matthew, also mid-20s, shaggy blonde hair falling into his eyes. He's a couple inches shorter than Alice, seated. His tray is nearly empty, while hers remains half-eaten. Matthew looks up from his burger, interrupted. He glances to the side, following Alice's line of sight. The pavement is empty.
Well, I'd say I'm spiritual, but not exactly religious. I thought I had that on my profile.
Alice turns back to face Matthew.
Right, but that doesn't tell me if you just read pieces every step, or if you're a burner trying to ayahuasca themselves into nirvana.
Matthew pushes back in his seat, laughing uncomfortably. He sweeps his hair back with a greasy hand and puts his fingers in his mouth looking clean.
Like that surfer, the one you said you met. She's a believer.
Oh, shoot. Bethany Hamilton? Yeah, I'd say that. I met her when I was in Hawaii. Look, I got the photo here. Do you want to see?
He fumbles in his pockets for his phone.
Did you watch her movie?
Soul Surfer.
Yeah, that one. They took us to see it on a middle school field trip.
Pro surfer gets her arm bitten off by a shark.
Goes on a mission trip, discovers brown people have it worse, rediscovers surfing through power of God.
Yeah, I remember. The CGI gives out in one of the scenes right after she gets eaten, but totally just strapped her arm behind her back. I mean, the actor, the real Bethany's definitely only got one arm.
Well, actually, she has 0.
A seagull lands on the table, pulling a fry out of the tray sitting in front of Alice and scarfs it down before flying off. Matthew waves after it, starting up out of his seat, annoyed, before settling back down once it's clear the bird won't be returning.
Fuck off. Get out of here. Those are just filthy things.
He turns back to Alice.
Sorry. Anyways, what were you saying?
I like that.
Silence descends, her eyes, blinking in the wind, look wet.
Whoever's that it is should just say who they are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great, okay. Yeah, we're all just gonna share this one.
Here, there's 2 mics. You can switch one over.
Everyone's helping me on the space.
Okay, so introduce yourself.
Hola, mi gente. My name is Jessica Peregrina, and this is working title La Fiesta. Interior kitchen day. Old, clean, medium-sized kitchen. Every counter space is covered with kitchen appliances, spices, old notes, and big wooden portrait of the Last Supper. Although the kitchen is cramped, it is organized. On the stove, there's a big, long silver pot that's been on for a while. Patricia, 62, is wearing a onesie, who's been cooking since last night. Through the kitchen window, we see people setting up a canopy in the backyard. Boxes of party supplies pile on the kitchen table. Patricia checks the birria for taste and opens the cabinet to take out the consomme. Fernanda, 27, medium-sized build, wearing an old pair of jeans, chanclas, and a cariucho t-shirt, enters the kitchen.
What time is your sister supposed to get here?
She's coming? I thought we agreed she wasn't coming.
Taking a deep breath, Fernanda pours herself a cup of coffee.
Did you talk to her?
I sent her a message.
And what did she say?
She didn't answer.
Fernanda rolls her eyes. Esmeralda, 32, also known as Esme, barges into the kitchen holding a coffee to go box from Pete's. Esme is wearing aloe fever wear, clutching a Tory Burch handbag, and her hair in a tight ponytail.
Smells nice in here. Good morning, Amy. How was your morning?
Esme goes towards Patricia and gives her a kiss on the cheek. Fernanda doesn't greet Patricia, nor does she look up.
You're here.
And I brought coffee.
Did you eat already?
Not yet. Is there something to eat?
Let me make you a quick omelet.
You can eat at home.
Patricia gives Fernanda a strong, scary look, signaling to Fernanda to stop talking.
Fair. How can I
Fernanda gets up and walks away quickly.
help? What's wrong with
Their cousin walks through the back door.
Tia, how do you want the tables? Oh, Esme, you're here.
Fernanda walks quickly with her sweater on hand into the kitchen. She grabs the boxes with the party supplies.
I'll tell you. Help me with the other box.
Fernanda and their cousin leave through the back door. He lingers on Esme, confused, as they exit.
Amy, are you making birria? I love your birria.
Patricia somehow is finishing the egg, heating up a couple of tortillas on a comal, and grabs the queso fresco from the fridge.
See, your tia Flor is bringing the rice and beans. I told Fernanda that I could make them. I don't like your tia's rice. It always turns out.
Another cousin comes into the kitchen holding a couple of bags of ice.
Tia Patty, where do you want the ice?
Ask Fernanda. She's in the back.
Esme, you're here.
Why do people keep saying that? I'll be here.
Oh, well, Fed told us that you weren't coming.
Why would she say that?
Oh, you know.
I know what.
And well, because of
Go drop off the ice. Here's your egg.
Patricia hands a small plate to Esme. Their cousin exits through the kitchen back door.
Mom, what did Fair say?
What would I know?
Fernanda enters the kitchen.
Mommy,
Fernanda, why are you telling people I wasn't coming?
I thought you weren't coming.
Fernanda exits the kitchen. Esme follows her out.
Oh. Hi, I'm Evelyn, and these guys are going to see.
exterior school, Paris, France. In Paris, is la rentrée, or the first afternoon of school, pick up after summer vacation. A crowded woman looks through an iron gate at the imposing limestone building for the first signs of emerging kids. Eve, Chinese American, 30s, arrives to join the group. Her jeans and scuffed running shoes are not de rigueur here. She finds herself next to a mom she doesn't know and smiles at her. The mom doesn't smile back.
Bonjour, I'm Eve. Your kid's new?
Yes, Nicolas. I'm Pauline. Where are you from?
Lighting a cigarette, Pauline blows smoke at an angle that barely misses touching Eve's face.
Paris. I'm also American, Chinese American.
What is that? You speak well French, so funny.
She blows smoke directly in Eve's face.
If you think so.
I see Nicolas.
Pauline points to an Asian kid.
Is that your little poupée?
That's Kai, Linji's kid. I gotta go. Enchanté.
Mary Flo approaches Eve.
Yves, ça va? Oh, Portugal was fantastic. How was your summer?
They exchange bisous.
Magnifique. Went to Croatia. You? Here to pick up a week?
Me? You okay?
Yeah, why?
You have the eye bags. Your skin is dry.
Short week. You around this weekend to get the kids together?
Oui. Saturday, the Pompidou?
Sounds great. Vanessa is late.
Eve feels a hand on her shoulder. She turns and sees Cecile.
Salut. Yves et Marie-Flo, bonjour. So stressing to be back in Paris. Summer is over. The annuals.
All three exchange bisous.
Hey. Oh, I finally got my drugs from what?
Eve's face shows many distress.
Worms for months. Last night they came out of her anus. Oh, Nicolas. The pharmacy next door ran out of the drug.
Pharmacies and other arrondissements might have it.
I no need to go all over Paris. This is typical for our little friends.
Mary Flo looks concerned now.
But Ninon might have given it to other kids. Oh, natural pour la vie, no?
Oh, hey, so maybe I should check.
No worries, I give you drugs. After I must watch the lights.
She has lice?
Girls, I see you. Bye-bye.
The sidewalk is now empty. She approaches the official at the gate. She shivers despite the warm day.
My kid is Inez. She's often one of the first out. Is she still inside?
The official looks annoyed.
Perhaps she's making a pee-pee.
Can you send someone to find her? She's never late.
Sit back, Boxy, please.
Can I help you look around?
I cannot leave the gate.
My child is never late and she's not here.
I'll call.
The guard pulls out his radio. Eve holds her breath. She bites her lip. Clouds hover. The sky is dark.
Hi, I'm Robin Levin, and this is from my script called All My Cons. On screen, white text against black background. Oh, God. I'll put it away. Yes, sir.
Please don't put your life in the hands of a rock and roll band. We'll throw it all away.
Dissolve to Interior Computer Lab Day. Rows of 1990 desktop computers like stalwart soldiers hum softly. Hadley, 20 Filipino American, sits watching a web page load on a monitor, slow as molasses. She's in a caravan tee, Walkman on, flipping through a Melody Maker newspaper. On the cover, a hip-looking four-piece, 3 men and 1 woman beneath the headline, Kerr, Best British Band of 1994. Lines of pixels slowly reveal a man from the photo, a low-res guitar graphic, Simon, best guitarist in the world, a fan page by Lenora, a Simon fan from Brazil. The pixels freeze. Hadley gently smacks the side of the monitor. It goes blank. Starts reloading from the beginning. She sighs, flips the cassette over, clicks play, continues reading. Exterior UC Berkeley campus later that day. Hadley walks across campus, backpack on, headphones hooked up to her Walkman. Jangly British rock blasts into her ears, her body and spirit in another world, away from the clusters of students. She sings out loud, her calm exterior slips. She speeds past lingering glances. Interior record store later that day. A listening bar in the center of the store, a counter lined with bulky black CD players. A few customers, including Hadley, wear chunky headphones like monks, nodding to unheard music. The record store clerk, a man with a British accent, holds up 2 CDs.
Adorable's last album, they broke up. And new core single?
I can only afford one.
The clerk nudges the Adorable CD closer towards her. She points to Kerr. He relents. Interior Hadley's bedroom night. CDs next to a boombox, a package in a manila envelope from a sacred in Sweden. A couple of prescription bottles, labels obscure. Hadley opens the envelope, a homemade VHS tape labeled in Sharpie, Kerr plus pulp, and hand-drawn hearts. She pops it into the VCR player under her tiny TV. An interview dubbed in French with Swedish subtitles from a European chat show featuring Kerr. Hadley mouths a few French words, trying to pick out the meaning.
Pourquoi Kerr the nouvel album?
Frustrated, she gives up and just watches the screen. Hadley pops the Kerr CD into her stereo. A dissonant pop song starts up. She beams like a kid, absorbed in all things Kerr.
This is an unnamed script, opening scene. Interior
Close to the mic.
Yes. Hello, my name is Niralisha. Interior Tech Campus Office Dusk. Shama, 30s Indian, stares at the screen of a laptop, a magnified video of a carpenter ant.
The Ophiocordyceps fungus begins its invasion
reaching the armor of the ant, hijacking its body with a single microscopic spore.
On screen, the infected ant turns away from its skin and walks alone to the base of a pink green stalk.
Severed from its will, the ant is forced to climb canopy.
On screen, the jaws of the ant open unnaturally wide. It clamps its mandibles onto the leaf's central vein. Crack. The microscopic bite is amplified. The ant freezes.
Moving body erupts from the skull of the ant.
Shama closes the laptop. Snap. The open plan office rushes in. A glass terrarium buzzes with a frantic swarm of workers in Patagonia vests and ergonomic backpacks. Shama sits among them like a stone in a rushing river. She rubs her sternum, trying to draw a full breath from the air, but the air feels thin. Interior, downtown restaurant, moments later. Warm light and glasses clinking. Shama sits alone in a wooden booth, a pristine, untouched salad wilts before her.
I think the singularity is a natural next step. We're going to transcend biology.
Shama's hand drifts to her collarbone, another woman on the table next to her.
I'm getting cybernetic enhancements the second they drop. I need Wall Street algorithms wired into my neocortex.
Exactly. It's natural selection. The words hang. Shama pushes her salad away. Her lungs feel caught in a vise. She cannot breathe in here. Exterior, Castro Street, later. The heat clings to Shama's skin, then a profound shift in atmospheric pressure. Time dilates into a slow, syrupy crawl. There, 50 feet away, is a panther. Primordial wildness, naked, alive, streaming with silent muscular energy. It meanders with luscious, fluid grace as if it has just stepped out of a tidal mangrove and lots its way into the concrete of Silicon Valley. Pedestrians step around it, oblivious on their phones, entirely blind to the majestic creature weaving through the street. The panther stops. It turns its massive head. Its intense emerald green eyes lock onto Shama. The gaze is an exquisite transmission. Shama's chest reverberates, her lungs burning. The panther turns into a corner, into a narrow alleyway. The street noise is gone. It stops, turning to face her one last time. And then the impossible happens. In one seamless motion, like a thick, mellifluous wave, crashing upward, the panther shatters into a fluttering, chaotic explosion, a murmuration of countless starlings, a sublime symphony against the dusk. Shama stands trembling, watching the sky. The collective strokes of the flock feel like a communication from the far beyond, a prayer. The terror in her blood gives way to a bizarre, buoyant peace. For the first time in years, Shama takes a deep, uninhibited breath.
How y'all doing? My name is Jamario, and this is my screenplay, The Color Green. It's hot up here, my bad. Exterior bank parking lot, morning. Cool wind blowing, birds chirping, steady traffic rolling by. Jim 43 at the trunk of his car opens a suitcase filled with money. Breaking hypnosis, Jim closes his trunk and enters the bank. Interior bank, early morning. Jim 43 enters the busy bank, firmly grasping the handle of a shiny leather suitcase. Larger than life, everyone moves out of his way as he approaches the front desk in an anxious hurry. He approaches a Ricky Teller, 23, looking for Jerry.
Good evening, sir. How may I help you today?
Where's Jerry? It's Tuesday. I need Jerry. Where is he?
Jerry's not in today, but I'll surely be happy to help you today, sir.
No. Come on, man. Get Jerry. Get him on the phone. I need him. Where is he?
Sir,
No, don't sir me.
Jim stops a sentence, noticing he's causing attention. He leans in closer and loudly whispers his objective to the teller.
I have $150,000 I need to deposit right now. You know what to do with that type of money?
Sir, right this way, please.
Interior bank office morning. As the two enter the office, Jim grows suspicious of the teller. Jim unclicks his suitcase and releases his money to the teller. Eyes glowing, the teller stares blankly at the crisply stacked dollar bills.
Don't tell me. You never seen this type of money before?
Excuse me. Teller swallows spit, staring in the daze. Eyes glowing, the teller stares blankly at the crisply stacked dollar bills.
$150,000. I got it from the craps table. Told them to keep chips. I want the real thing. I want the money.
Interior adjacent room, bank lobby. Kicking the front door, a duo of robbers, Riot 35, Pluto 29, enter the bank and aggressive heist ensues.
Everybody, hands. Let me see your hands. We won't hurt you. We just want the money. Your money. Well, the bank's money.
Interior bank office, morning.
How much you make here? A lady like you is way too pretty to be working here. Come on.
Riot kicking in the nearby office door, catches Jim and Teller by surprise. Jim's reflexes move faster than his mind could.
What the hell?
Focused on the large amounts of cash, Riot hesitates. Jim instantly reaches to protect the money in a nervous panic. Riot shoots Jim out of reflex, leaving Jim to launch over the table, knocking over the money. Bang, bang.
Should have never reached for your gun. Doug Dimmadome looking motherfucker.
Yeah, give me that fucking money. Just take it, leave me alone, take it all, don't hurt me.
Riot, hypnotized by the crisply blood-covered stacks of money, picks up the poker stars 150,000 and carries on into the lobby. Interior bank lobby morning. Riot walks back into the heist like nothing happened. Knowingly, Pluto continues with the job, clearing the room of all goods and morning deposits. Riot shows Pluto his earnings, mutually stuck at the glowing sight of an unusual amount of money. The two take off into an alley. Exterior bank alleyway morning. Empty lots, stray animals, sirens blaring, money flying out the bag. In exhaustion, the two run down the alleyway. The duo runs for blocks until Deuce 29 meets the two ahead of the schedule down the alley. A wad of banknotes fall out of Riot's duffel bag. Title sequence over a wad of cash on the floor, accompanied by upbeat music. Riot snatches the wad of cash off the floor. The main title in banknote font fills the screen, the color green.
Are they done?
Oh, all right, everyone, thunderous applause.
Big pleasure. We have Essay. Essay, please come on out. For those folks in the back, there might be some seats. There's a couch here, and there's a lounge area in the back. All right, Essay, you guys ready to go? Oh, yes. All right. Who's up first?
Yeah.
My name is Lee Perret, alias Kinley Twain. I've been fired by an idiot. Anybody who knows me knows that I could care less about the white gaze. Call me crazy and delusional, but we were told to stand up straight and walk like Maasai warriors to be aware of our predators. I walked through life with my head held high. I looked them dead in the eye. I I don't step off the sidewalk for nobody. I sent many white men away speechless. They're the ones who cross the street to avoid me. It's like I'm always playing chicken with them. I was born in the early 60s in a little town of Bastrop, Louisiana. And in my first years of life, I had been raised by Black folks, my teachers, the principal of my school, my Sunday school teachers, the ministers. I went to segregated schools. And in fact, the school was named after my cousin. My people were presidents and founders of Wiley College and of Grambling. I was going to be a Grambling Tiger, a majorette, and everybody knew the Grambling marching band was best in the South. There's nothing like an HBCU marching band. Even Donald Trump knows that. At least his people that organized the inauguration did. We had Black pride. During desegregation, white people came to my school. My people didn't want them there. We weren't ready. And then MLK was shot, then Malcolm, then Medgar. And now I'm being fired by a bald head, tattoo-faced former prisoner. We're done here, he said. I said, okay, flipped my Marty locks and strutted away. Some said sue, others said it's hard to prove. I said the man has a swastika tattooed on his leg. It feels like full circle, and I am worried. I'm my own civil rights movement. I'm like a mad little chihuahua full of storm and stress. We thought white people were crazy when they try to tell me my history, I lose it. Now they scoot to the other end of the bar when they see me coming. They don't like me. They can try to kill me, but I'm going down fighting because I'm a writer like Baldwin before me. I'm a singer like Nina Simone, and I'm a witness like Toni Morrison.
Everyone, I'm Michelle Tan. I take the stairs two at a time, skipping the third step from the top because it groans, my slippers slapping against the wood, the bruise from Jojo's bite already darkening on my arm. Lola, Jojo bit me hard, I say, fist clenched. She's at her fold-out table by the window, decorating an album she's making for Tito June's new baby. She sits me on her lap, puts her palm over the redness on my arm, closes her fist around it, and tosses it out of her window. There, she says, the pain is gone. I lean over the windowsill and search the bougainvillea for food. Her mother had once done this for her. After, Lola did it for herself. Palm over heart when she lost her brothers, her husband, her son. When they told her my father died, I was in Boston, 13 hours ahead of her in my grief. I wondered if she could still curl her fingers the way she used to, if anyone helped her to the window, whether the bougainvillea had bloomed that year, or if she tossed her pain against bare branches. If she searched for any sign, the gesture worked its magic this time too. Years after my Lola died, my tita found his poems in a desk drawer. He had written since my father was a boy, and no one had known. My father read them once and never spoke of them again. I believe the dead leave a second self for the living to find. If you loved them, you looked. If you looked, something would be found. For months after my father's death, I searched his coat pockets and drawers. I found a Sacred Heart novena, so worn you could barely make out the words, loose change, and in between his copies of Shogun and the Firm, a marksmanship medal from the army. I sat on the floor and turned it over. It was heavier than it looked, cold against my palm. I held it until it grew warm, then placed it in my pocket. His time in the army was a phantom in our home. You haven't seen me angry, he used to say, hands curling into fists. The women in my family moved their pain out of their bodies. My father kept his where he could reach it. When I think of my father, I move my hand over my heart the way my Lola did. Palm, fist, toss.
An excerpt from Sisters, Spotting the Difference. The other day, I asked, do you have any trauma about what happened in Cambodia? You replied simply, no. I thought about how this can be when we grew up together. We were both born safely in suburban England, admittedly, but then I spot the difference. Where were you that Saturday?
when Dad sat down on the sofa next to 8-year-old me. He and I wriggled back amongst sofa cushions to watch a film about Cambodia. At last, I thought, Cambodia on the TV. Our parents didn't have any photos, and there were no pictures in our children's encyclopedia. I wanted to know if Cambodia matched the picture of palm trees, paddy fields, blue skies, and sunshine I had in my mind, the picture I'd drawn up from Dad's descriptions. But that film turned out to be the killing fields. I watched child soldiers wearing red and white check armor, brandishing machine guns, screaming at city dwellers, leave or be killed, as they emptied the city. I looked on at Cambodians forced to work in fields through starvation, brutality, and the death, the threat of being identified as educated and killed. This was a film about Cambodia. My mum didn't sit with us. She didn't watch the film, but I asked her afterwards, what happened? What happened to our family? I don't want to talk about it, she said. We are here. I don't know what happened. I just want to forget. Forget about my family, forget about Cambodia. And so I stopped asking. Years later, you were at college when Mum couldn't forget any longer. Sat on the sofa, she stared straight ahead, silent and still from depression. I looked at the space on the other side of her. I wished you were with us, holding her left hand while I held her right hand. Slowly she recovered, wearing that veil of sadness. But one day, a letter arrived on blue, wafer-thin paper, an airmail letter.
My name is Allison Sagala. The steel jeepney is packed to the brim as we maneuver up the mountain road. I sit shoulder to shoulder with other travelers, our sweat rubbing together in the humidity. The aisle between us overflows with bags of rice, and somewhere trapped inside a wooden crate, a chicken lets out a piercing squawk. It's 2018, and I am traveling in the Philippines for the first time without my parents. After visiting island after island, one tourist-ridden white sand beach after another, I finally made it north to the mountains of Luzon. I'm making the pilgrimage to Buscalan, the home of Apo Wang Od, the last hereditarily legitimate Kalinga tattooist. I go with the hope that bearing her mark will bring me closer to my culture. After several hours, the jeepney stops where the road ends, and everyone disembarks. From here, we must carry on by foot. I look at the crowd of locals waiting to receive us, trying to match the face of a man I'd communicated with over Facebook. In order to enter the village and be tattooed, one must hire a local guide to escort you and provide a homestay. A young woman instead comes forward and reaches for my bag. You must be Allison, she says. I'm Grace. I politely nudge her hand away, insistent on carrying my own weight. Yes, that's me. It's great to meet you. She asks me where I'm from. Pinang-anak sa Amerika ako, I say. It is one of the few complete Tagalog phrases I know. I had asked my mom to teach me how to say I was born in the US, but the phrase directly translates to I was a child in America. So you speak Tagalog then? Another one of those questions I'm always embarrassed to answer. I shake my head no. Ah, so you're not really Filipino then, Grace says, harmlessly, matter-of-factly. She motions for me to follow her up a steep, rocky path, and I obey.
My name is Kush, and this is called Adventure Redefined. It started with a comment I couldn't agree with. People here do first and think afterwards. I repeat, people here do first and think afterwards. Susan said it lightly, almost with affection. We were talking about India, where she has lived for nearly 2 decades now, after growing up in Australia and spending much of her life chasing adventure in other parts of the world. She was describing what she loved about this country, the people, their openness, their willingness to jump in. I remember stopping at that line. It sounded both wrong and strangely right. I was not used to thinking of India as a place full of adventurous people. Not in that sense. not in the world I came from. I associated adventures with other landscapes, other cultures, other kinds of upbringing. So when Susan began describing India as full of people who leap first and think later, I felt myself resisting it. And then immediately recognizing what she meant. When we spoke, she described India with a kind of delight that only an outsider can sometimes bring to a place you have really stopped seeing. She talked about India, about women in Indian dress jumping on jet skis and heading out into the surf without knowing how to swim. She talked about people attempting Himalayan treks with no preparation, simply because the trek was there. She talked about the way people just cross roads they're blind, as if traffic might somehow rearrange itself around their condition. Listening to her, I felt my certainty loosening. What she was saying sounded wrong until it didn't. She broke my brain a bit because all her examples were true. I had spent most of my life thinking of adventure as something more deliberate, more chosen, more skill based. She was describing something looser and more instinctive, not mastery, but willingness. And that I realized can be adventure too.
Hi everyone, my name is Richard Placencia, and it's a word I heard often growing up in my Chicano Los Angeles neighborhood, machismo. Machismo is what it means to be a man, but there is no textbook. Instead, it is learned through example, through oral tradition, through quiet immersion, the way one learns a language. Machismo is my neighbor who gets drunk after a long work week, then hits his wife. It's his machismo to blame for the blue and red lights that come flickering down our street, responding to the 2 a.m. shouting. It's his machismo that overflows his recycle bin with crushed cans of Tecate and Bud Heavy. Machismo tells him, you don't need no pinche gringo doctor. No pills. Don't talk about your feelings. No se emocional. Are these the traits I've inherited? Is it my own machismo that kept my ADHD and PTSD undiagnosed for years, decades? It was machismo that kept my grandpa silent when he was told he had fathered a daughter outside of his marriage. She's not mine, was all he ever said on the matter. And how my grandmother resented him until the day he died, and how he had stopped responding to her accusations during his end days when the cancer had worn him down. His machismo kept him quiet as he stared out past my grandmother towards the entrance of the great beyond that grew closer and closer every day. I was with him at the end, watching as he sat on the edge of his bed, convinced that water was rising up from the carpet of his little bedroom. Is it my own machismo that causes me to go reticent during arguments with my wife? How I need a walk, coastal air, and time spent staring at the ocean before I can come back with logic?
Hi, my name is Chris. This is my lyrical essay called Grandfather. Suddenly, the sky expands before us like an inhale. All that starry space hurtling past, yet a man on a flying plane cannot escape his own grief. While I curl up unborn, still decades away, he flies. He sits outside of history and writes a poem with his breath until words seep into my veins. We had been flying in darkness, night in our mouths. We had been rushing for hours with nowhere to go. When he left Sichuan, the camp said see you later. When he left the mainland, his family waited for his return. The grass and trees wheezed as they burned. Poker cards laughed, lying on the sidewalk. The laundry danced as if inhabited by the breeze. Hungry children, hungry ghosts, empty stomachs, empty streets. The oncoming army looked like a field of wheat growing towards us. The night recedes, and we glimpse it, an island lavishly green, a forest where ocean meets land, jeweled and decadent just like he dreamed, just like paradise, like heaven, the mirage where strangers stop and turn into ghosts. When he lands, he works in darkness, gets married, has 3 sons. I see myself born like foam from water, green from roots. When I visit him from the States, he has a portrait on his wall. The man is him but younger. His father, same wide-eyed look as me. They've never met again after that night. How I know the man even as I don't. How I wish I could break the glass with my fists, break the time, the distance, bring him to life once more. When I retell the story, I say my grandfather fled because he needed to. Moss grew on the plain as he flew through the night, a loss turning into new, wet life. Sometimes I lay awake as if stuck in poetry. I remember how I prayed that night. Turn the night so full that darkness gave birth to light, emptiness to fullness, retreat into new life. He always tells me we did the right thing as long as I exist.
I am Mahru El-Afri, and I'm going to be reading a flash essay entitled This Stretch of Asphalt. The drive between Omaha, Nebraska and Chicago, Illinois is approximately 465 miles. This was the first distance between us. It wasn't that far in the grand scheme of things, an 8-hour trip if you observe the speed limit. Omaha to Los Angeles, in contrast, is a multi-day trek. Your ship was docked in San Diego when I was cycling down hills in Santa Cruz. We shared Portland, Oregon for a season, and you fled to San Francisco as I was hurtling up and down Manhattan in a tube of steel. We traveled together one post-COVID Thanksgiving to Honolulu. That trip lasted for 3 months, even after we returned to the Bay Area. A door was left open in November, and it didn't slam shut until February. In the meantime, the wind got in and rattled us senseless, our bits all mixed up and covered in a thin layer of soot. We were a handful, 2 handfuls. I still pass that curve on the 580, the one where you pulled to the shoulder, flipped on your hazards. Our homes are connected by a 20-mile-long artery of flashing brake lights. I wonder how we might find one another again along this stretch of asphalt, between our wheels and the road beneath, the blades of grass and the cracked sidewalk.
Okay, essay group, please stand up for a second. Personal stories, and last but not least, we have poetry. Poetry, come up.
No, they're doing round robin. They know who comes out. Are they gonna tell their names, all their names? They're gonna figure out their names. They're ready to go. We're good. All right, are you guys ready for the final group of the day?
After my friends get hooked on ChatGPT, I get militant about sunshine, take the long way home, desiccate like a raisin on my deck. I insist on touching every tree, place my head on its trunk to hear its heartbeat, relax into the dank of redwoods and moss, do with my face. After my friends get hooked on ChatGPT, they use it for therapy. I delete every contact in my phone, erase every message, smash the phone itself, make tea, and cut off my internet. Mint permeates my kitchen as I celebrate my newfound sentience, fake licorice coating my tongue. After my friends get hooked on ChatGPT, I spend 2 hours counting every single termite that crawls out from under my fridge, make another pot of tea, and begin the count again. After my friends, after the chatbots, I stare at myself in the mirror, hold a microscope to every crater and lake in my face, spotlight every flaw. Are my eyes still windows to a soul? Find what it means to be human, still. After my friends become chatbots, everything is flat. I stick chilies and ginger into my mouth for tingling, stuff my nose into a jar of cinnamon, touch every stinging cactus I pass, waiting for a heartbeat. And then after
But the silver accord keeps circling the block. But it persists in my memory, the house at the end of the street, the open courtyard and the frogs that slip into shoes, falling asleep on the way from the airport, sleeping on my mamita's silk dress all the way home, the blast of warm air, and wonder what about this place I carry so much memory about. My sister forgets the things that have happened to her. So does my friend. I wonder what it's like to have a mind that lets things go, that doesn't haunt you. I believe in ghosts, but sometimes a ghost is just a memory that won't fade away. Sometimes a ghost is seeing my uncle's car circle the block. I swear it's him. It's only been 4 years. Memory loses its power the more you remember it. The more you recall a memory, the more your brain has adjusted that memory. I wonder how many times I've rewritten the past and my favorite memories are less true. I think of memories as blue, as deep ocean creatures that turn inwards, pools of water, wells in the earth, sitting and collecting. Next up is
How to stitch the survivor's quilt. I'm a survivor, a miracle, a blessing, born from love stitched together with determination. Even when love came disguised, even when it cut more than it comforted. I arrived early, like I had somewhere to be, like I knew the world would try to close the doors on me, and I refused to wait outside. They told me more than once, in louder voices and loud silences, that I was not enough. Not enough space, not enough worth, and not enough to be chosen. But still I showed up. With shaking hands and a stubborn heart, I kept answering a call that no one could hear. I kept breathing in rooms that felt small. I kept standing where I was never invited to belong. I began in contradiction, in love and doubt, in being wanted and questioned in the same breath. In hard beginnings and sticky truths, but I'm still here. A survivor, not because it was easy, but because leaving was never an option. A miracle, not because it was declared, but because I became one anyway. A blessing, not because they saw it, but because I decided that I was.
My name is Christian. This poem is called In the Matrix, My Name Means. In the Matrix, my name means follower of Christ, who is like God, an itchy plant. If I am to believe my father, this name of mine is, after a poet who I cannot find in history, nor a canon. Wonder even as these words come forth, am I still a boy? Burning my tongue, swallowing his fiction, choking on poet, until I cough up a tale about a person who is less of a person, more of a myth, like God.
Mirror of viability. I am shaped by the anticipation of loss. Even after 4 years, the walls are bare. I was never big on decorating, kept furniture to a minimum, knowing there would be a buy. This time there's no end date, no graduation or prescriptive next step, only a blatant new beginning,
the baby housed in my belly without the fear or expectation I held before that this pregnancy is not viable. Viable, that this pregnancy is not what I held before. Without fear or expectation, the baby housed in my belly, only a blatant new beginning, no graduation or prescriptive next step. This time, there's no end date, knowing there will be a I, keeping furniture to a minimum. I was never big on decorating, the walls bare. Even after 4 years, I am shaped by the anticipation of loss. Next up is charisma.
After my first publication, my mother celebrated and said she knew I could do it all along. Trouble is, that was a lie. She discouraged my writing at every turn until my personal narrative landed in an anthology about teenage girls. I was 16 and the book wound up on the New York Times bestsellers list for 18 weeks. Less than 1% of submissions had been accepted. The editor said it would have been harder to get into an Ivy League school, the kind of accolade that made my mother's pride drool. After my first publication, my high school English teacher rejoiced, but did not take credit for my win, though she'd found the submission instructions and encouraged me to enter. I was a stubborn teen and only wrote one draft. They can take it or leave it, I said. She told me it's ready as is. After my first publication, I milked the heck out of the credit in every college application essay I wrote and got into all 4 UCs and all 4 state schools I applied to. After my first publication, I ebbed and flowed between embarrassment that it happened so young and gleaming, genuine pride. Was it pressure or promise? Depending on the day, I would have to decide. That's the Shayla.
Open story, 2 a.m., sure we died. Open story, probably fleeing from drunks and racists up on Convicted Ave by the rednecks and the trailer parks. I don't know how my mom found that place, if she knew much about that place. I knew she just wanted a place to call her own, so we were up in that 1-bedroom apartment on the 2nd floor. I knew it was the 2nd because it housed all my memories. And it was overlooking something. I remember playing in the grass with the dirt and the worms with other little blonde girls in my blue overalls. I was a baby, 4 years old when we moved. The other little girls got taken away from their mother who didn't take care of herself. But we played and we had fun. And they watched me even if they didn't have no one to watch themselves in the quiet of old rickety homes, white plastered walls, yellow sun rays, my old rocking chair that littered the apartment, an empty crib we never used, filled with things, old things, clothes we thrifted from the Salvation Army down the street where I got my one little purple bike. And I remember it being stolen. And I remember being lonely and being the only child with my mother outside the Salvation Army and felt like, in that moment, the middle of nowhere. And I found my way back somehow. I guess slowly that was apartment 4. Next to Bumpy's, ended up being a shooting there 10 years later. Had a shady drug dealer among the renters. We were on the news. There was someone with a shot leg on my lawn and I heard his willing out. At the bottom at night when I was falling asleep in high school, texting my best friend, and then he went pow, pow, pow. Having up to crying.
Hi all. Lucille Clifton's Blake Bishop. Ankle deep in Pacheco Pond, I saw the angles of the transmission tunnel. I saw them reflecting across the wetlands, glittering wave crests, dancing, insinuating the primeval order to engender variation. It's the survival of the queerest in this wilderness. Think redwood trees and their ancestral stands, lyrebirds and their mimetic love cry, hedgehogs and their hot-headed quails. Mycelia's linked arms outstretched, that we walk erect, can see each other eye to eye, hold hands among the poison lines. It's been the dawn of difference since 1969, since the beginning. Now walk with me. Let our footsteps crush the dying leaves. Let the water be an oracle. Let the angles be messenger angels. They are saying we are sacred disorder. They are saying we are everywhere. Next up, charisma.
This one is called Under the Ghost Light. A few things I won't be talking about are the ways the moon dances over reason, like being led into Watsu by a skilled practitioner in a hot springs bath. So deeply nourishing, a weekend feels like a week-long vacation. A few things I won't be talking about are the flowers that sacrifice their lives for our special occasions. Weddings, funerals, birthdays, Valentine's Day, all one and the same. Only one result we can promise them, and that's an untimely, beautiful end. A few things I won't be talking about are the tears that unplanned ghosts leave behind. I worked in theater for a decade, and I can say with certainty that the ghost light is not merely for superstition. Some people don't get the forever they wanted and forego the light to stay haunted.
I don't look any different. After I faint, a girl asks if I'm okay. After I faint, I get up and faint again. The same girl asks me if my friends are sitting at the bar. After I faint, I realize how many times I've been close to fainting before. After I faint, my friends cluster around me in the bathroom. They ask the bartender for water and pretzels that I eat in the bathroom. After I faint, my doctor friend asks if I'm pregnant. After I faint, we go eat papaya salad. I go to the bathroom at the Thai place and look at myself in the mirror. I don't look any different than I did before I fainted. I don't look any different than I did before getting pregnant, before seeing that there was no baby, only emptiness. I don't look any different. Everything is different.
Unsaid. Things I won't be saying. A few things I won't be talking about is how tired I am holding everything up. My body doesn't listen when I need it to, and I still gotta move like I'm okay. A few things I won't be talking about, the weight that sits on my chest all day, how quiet gets loud when I'm alone, and I don't know what to do with it. A few things I won't be talking about is what I can't explain out loud, the nights that don't rest even when I do, and the way I keep pushing anyway. Some things I carry ain't for everybody, just proof I made it through.
Geometry of Loss, log date 2/27-3/6. Ladies and gentlemen, seatbelts please. For your safety, a man in Buffalo, alone in the cold, nearly blind, gone. In the unlikely event echo blasts drop after preemptive strikes and prediction market deathbeds tick up, for your safety, be sure to tuck your protest signs under your seat. Some turbulence is to be expected, of course. Don't panic, the strikes are unmanned, precise. Remember, sovereignty is conditional. As we take off, pull down the window shades, obscure the cities you can barely point to on a map. They all blend anyway. Don't heed the jagged edges and fractures below, just the geometry of loss. Don't mind the ever-rising din of dissonance. Call your relatives, their ashen faces whisper. Tell them to stay away from windows. In an orderly fashion, wave at your neighbors drinking spritzes. Comment on the untimely heat this past Saturday. Don't mind the screams, you won't hear them as we hit elevation. Electronic devices should be turned off. Recording is prohibited, rest easy, all areas are flock and ring equipped. Our entertainment system is state of the art. Pre-programmed nightmares contain every shade of red. Scroll through, trafficked infants, schoolgirls, violent dictatorial regimes. For your safety, children at Dili gasp for air, vomit, pick at worm-infested food. When we land, wake at 4 a.m. to rumbling, shaking of thunder. No, fireworks. No, bombs. No, just the corner store rolling bins down the street. Don't look back when the terminal you left from is struck days later. My dear passengers, didn't you know the price of your ticket?
Almost American Abecedarian. American history, the book of Revelations, their commas rearranged in a diamond pattern with piped edges. This is what we live for. We wear the costumes given to us as badges of honor. As for me, I've been a devoted jester to this insidious kingdom too long. No silver lining, no future in my periphery. Notwithstanding oblivion, past borders quaking and rattling, see me standing here, tertiary to rigidity, unfathomable, vast, word exacto knife cut like yours, zeroing in. So, we have an example.
The falling apart of Valencia. But I know how those things go, into someone's dream of the future. It was never my home to begin with, never my corner. 26 in Valencia, memorialized in my brain. My friends look for me on the corner. I look for my mother's shadow, for her hair falling, for her shadow and disappointed face. When I've returned with nothing, but it may just be, I don't know how to read her expressions. And maybe the stern glance is actually full of joy. To be an adult is to see my mom differently, not for her anger or the things I wasn't given. It's strange to be an adult, to see and come back to parents as people, and not phantoms with expectations. And I see again how searching for my own family has pushed me away from the people I already know.
Alrighty, this is called Everybody's Beard Was Different. Mine took its time, sprouting through pores, falling against my face, unlike daddies that come in floating towards hell. It is when the speaker transitions to Fantasia. When I see you, the alcohol is down, wipe across the lining, the burn sizzled in silence. Daddy face inverts, the tear trails down his cheek. I don't know if I can take that thing. Shh. Leaves the bottle. Barbara spins him into a blur, into a cloud, lays like a donut ready to be brought. Cash only though. From the chair across the room waiting, watching the artist, my right leg trembles as I bite my lip. Daddy gets up. It's my turn to be cut into a real boy.
In this game of Connect Four, I only win once I've passed one whole turn around the galaxy. 1. Choose a side. The first time I beat someone at Connect Four, beat the most intelligent guy I knew, an affirmation. I was never dumb to begin with. 2. Put it in the hole. The cafeteria at Page Elementary, when we lined up to beat the lunch monitor, the master, all winter. The yellow divider and I chip stand between us, and we fail every time. We throw our hands up in the air in awe. Go back to the end of the line. We egg our friends on to try. 3. Connect the dots to win. 4 to win. The last time someone beat my ass when I was in the beginning of the end of that sweet thing that's known as childhood or innocence. Felt the labor of living and got beat by a kid in the children's center. I smiled, had to laugh at his rigor, because his smack made me hopeful that he could pack a punch. But the odds didn't look so good. An adult, his senior, and yet the token slid down with the thud of the slam. A Connect Four. 4, you win. Beat my ass, but I'm not too good to keep trying, to keep learning. I put myself to the library of books behind us. I know I'm just getting started, just getting warmed up for the next game. I'm not too old to get my ass beat, and I'm not too old to win.
Right, folks, that was the last meeting, and I want the poetry group to please stand up so we can get say a few words. We have timed ourselves as well, so we're not pushing forward.
Okay. First of all, congratulations, Rooted and Written 2026. What a beautiful reading, words of color. The energy in this room has been incredible from the moment you guys walked in last week to right now. It's undeniable and it is touching. It's something about the openness that we feel from you, the generosity. It's been an honor to witness you all be here and to see your work, the work you've created in these classes and all the genres. And the growth has been undeniable. Thank you guys. Thank you, fellows, faculty, volunteers, friends, and family for joining us today. Just a few quick announcements. I promise they're quick. Everybody keeps sending requests. So. Okay, first of all, Susan Kyo Oto, who's one of the co-founders of Rooted and Written and part of the membership team,
at the Grotto wanted us to let you know that the Grotto membership will be opening for its summer drive on May 15th. You can go to the Grotto website to apply. Please, please, please apply. We'd love to see more BIPOC riders at the Grotto. And I know that there's some WhatsApp groups that are going on. Please raise your hand if you've started such a group and just make sure you guys stay connected. Okay, next is don't forget to participate in the prize drawing. More information on the conference app. And some of the rooted and written faculty will be reading at Medicine for Nightmares on May 20th at 7 p.m. for a reading called Rooted in Resistance. Check out the app for more info. We'd love to see you there. Last announcement, I promise, is we have food and cake upstairs on the 6th floor in the Grotto office. Please join us and stay a little longer. The celebration is for you. And before I hand things over to Rowena, I want to share something briefly. This year, 2026, will be our final year serving as directors of Rooted and Written. No, it has been such a joy to be part of something this meaningful. This program is built on the energy, care, and brilliance of so many people coming together, and we feel it's the right time to pass it on at the end of this year. Rowena, my fellow director and dear friend, is someone I feel incredibly honored to work alongside. She brings so much care, thoughtfulness, and commitment to this work, and I couldn't have done this without her. This program has meant so much to us, and being in this room with all of you tonight is something we will not forget, and I'm going to let her take it from here and close out the evening. Thank you. Last time of the day, and then it's cake time, right? So listen, a few things. Actually, one more announcement. When I finish this last speech, we're going to ask the fellows and the faculty and staff to come up here. We're going to do a huge group shot. We're going to be surrounded by the signs. It's going to be amazing. Okay. So, but before that, a few words. So yes, this is actually our last year. And I wanted to say that this is my 3rd year directing this conference and Sabina's 4th year. And we actually wanted to announce that we're leaving this world to 2 incredibly wonderful contributors and leaders who will do an amazing job starting with the 2027 conference. Is MK Chavez and Shweta Amit. Going away yet because I will finish up the year-round programming through the end of 2026, and we will continue to be involved with Written through the advisory board, which is comprised of the founders and former directors. So actually, believe it or not, we have reached the end of 2026 Written Conference, and can you believe that 9 days ago, as fellows, you were mostly strangers, and yet almost immediately you began to find connections, so much so that when we walked into that main room, the din was so loud that we had to seriously interrupt you just to keep going. And it seems like so long ago, but it was just the prior Saturday when you went around and introduced each other while sharing your likes and dislikes and things you've read or listened to or watched, when we learned about generous and sincere reciprocity to create longevity in your creative career with JD Beltran, when we heard about how we're formed and transformed by our relationship to our environment from our keynote, Tango Eisen Martin, in conversation with Preeti Mangani, when you learned how to develop your craft through our incredible core faculty with Tara Dorogji, with FJ, with humans and internship fiction, Debbie F. Glasscar in poetry up here. Here in memoir. Sandra Calverton in screenwriting. And when you explored aspects of craft for flash classes taught by Sabina Connemara, Audrey T. Williams, Roberto Lotto, Ray Rollins. Who gets to inhabit the fullest possible version of their lives and who doesn't with our keynote, R.O. Kwan, in conversation with Dominic. You're sharing amazing snippets of your stories and poems and screenwriting in this space. Amazing writers, you all.
And we couldn't have done this without the support of the Writers Grotto members who volunteered to help behind the scenes, as well as the steady support of the Grotto board led by Jennifer Presdell Aquino, and we're here. Woo! I'm almost done, I swear. So, Written Britain has given me so much when I was a fellow, including this amazing community and this priceless friendship with Sabina Tanabara, someone whom I admire for her strength, her resilience, her intelligence, and her tremendous heart. And I hope you will find or have found people with whom you can feel supported by through this program. I'm very grateful that we're able to gather together like this. We're at a point in time where what's happening around us threatens our safety and our freedoms. And it's more critical than ever to show that we're here, that we matter, and that we have a voice. As BIPOC writers, poets, and screenwriters, we write to resist erasure and stereotypes. We write to expose systemic racism and for social advocacy. We write to reclaim our narratives, and we write to center ourselves in the narrative. But most importantly, we write to find connection. Though our stories and poems are uniquely ours, underneath it all is a universal desire to be seen, to be accepted, and to be loved. Along these lines, I want to leave you with this quote from Tongo Eisen-Martin based on an interview he did in Spike in 2022 regarding art. If you're not building the consciousness of masses along the way, you don't have a movement that is invincible to systemic coercion, corruption, and absorption. Art is really just a conversation starter. And that's where art is crucial and beautiful, because it's begging you to build your mind on top of it. It's begging you to interact with it. Art is a request just as much as it is an assertion. It's really just a conversation starter, the highest form of conversation starting. Sharing our stories and perspectives is not just a form of protest, but an opportunity to reach someone who may not know how much we all have in common. We hope Rooted and Written is but one part of your ongoing writing journey, and that you felt inspired and enriched by the experience, so that it creates momentum for you to keep writing, especially in those moments when you feel discouraged or disheartened. Because as our motto states, your words matter.
What? You see how smooth they are trying to get away with not being properly acknowledged today. Okay, so I want to say that there are so many acknowledgements for these two beautiful beings. Some of them are going to be shared upstairs during the reception. And I am actually going to just share what I think is a forward-facing contribution. I'm making a forward-facing contribution. I just want to acknowledge this thing that happens in our community, which is that there are beings that sacrifice their time and their art and their time to write and do all of these things to make sure that we get an opportunity to write and to create. And I think that two of the people that I've seen do it with so much love and so much dedication are these two people. So we're we want to wish you, and we'll be watching you. Just copious amounts of time to do your writing, and we forever are touched by what you've done. I'm sure I can speak for everyone in this room that what you've done has changed lives. So thank you so much. And then I'm going to pass it over to these beautiful people who will provide some acknowledgement.
Oh my God, you guys know I love you. That was really, sorry everybody. That was really inspiring, and I honestly can't wait to be in the back of all of your book signings someday. Just again want to acknowledge that all of it is possible because of the community that these two have made. And I've watched it in awe in the background, like they can hive mind like nothing I've ever seen before. And just the amount of love they have for each other and for this program. inspires me that there are wonderful, beautiful things happening in this world, and that all the sacrifices and big and small that you make do matter. And I hope you see that when you look at like not just this wonderful group of writers, but the legions of people that have come before you.